recent family picture, and it's from 5 years ago. When we adopted Ellie, who's on the left there, we had to bring Tim, who's on the right, to, where were we, Tampa?
Yes.
Yeah, Tampa, to the foster home to ensure that Tim and Ellie got along before they'd let us adopt her. So this is Ellie's adoption day. Isn't she cute? She is a little monster. She's like I say, 5 years old now, and she's just adorable. And when she and Tim met, Tim just didn't know what to do with her at all. She just kept licking at him and stuff, and now he's like, you may lick me. He's just something. All right, so our four-leggeds. If you've known me for 10 minutes, you know about my four-leggeds. Tim has his own story, and those of you that have been in this center long enough go, Tim, you have a dog named Tim. You had a best friend named Tim. It's no coincidence, and we did not name that dog. The dog came to us with that name. That's how we knew that was our dog. So there are some people in this room that appreciate that. I won't get into that story just now. Instead, I'm going to talk about boxes. Because like Tim, our dog Tim, when we tried to crate him, I don't know how he did this, but he broke out of a metal crate. He bent the bars, and he got out of it. Tim was not a small dog when he did this. He was, what, 40, 50 pounds? And he messed up his mouth chewing at those bars, and we never crated him again. Never, ever. And I don't know what happened to him when he was in his earlier foster homes. We got him at 6 months, but something happened. You take out a trash bag, and Tim, at 12 years old, will still run out of the kitchen when we take out a trash bag. So these animals have histories, and they bring their histories to us, and what do? We love them through it, right? And this is a box that Tim, unfortunately, still lives in, a fear of plastic bags. This is a box that he lives in, a fear of crates for, I don't know what happened to him and that poor little guy in that crate, but it will never happen to him in our household. So life gives us boxes, and some of these boxes we don't even see. Things happen, and we develop beliefs, and that creates a box. We have a role, sister, daughter, wife, husband, cousin, whatever the role, teacher, student, whatever. It's a box. It can be a real box for us. We have routines that we get into, and those routines alone can box us in because everything has to go in this order or there's disruption in my life. You know people like this? I know people like this. I'm not one of those people because I'm one of 6 children, and so there was always pure chaos in my house. There was not an allowance for routine boxes because nothing was routine. So that's not one of mine, but I have some, and so do you. We all do. We all do. And when this little girl came into my life, she introduced me to my boxes. Now, there are some people in this room that were here 10 years ago when I gave this talk. I have given this talk once before, I admit it. And unfortunately, the four-leggeds involved here have all transitioned, but they have left their mark. They have absolutely left their mark, and this is one of the biggest ways that they touched me with this story that I'm going to tell you about Lily. This is Lily. So Lily came to us by way of a pet shop where Leland was putting in a new floor. And she was there, she was, had been dropped off at this, not pet shop, excuse me, vet's office, where he was putting in a new tile floor. And he worked night after night after night putting in this tile floor, and this little kitten was in there just meowing her heart out every night, and by the end of the job, he's like, just give me the cat. And she came home, and she came to live with us. And we have an indoor-outdoor cat policy. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but that is our policy with cats. We found that our other cats live to be 20-something years old, and I credit them being indoor-outdoor cats with doing that. So we have an indoor-outdoor cat policy, and Lily started going out, I think, young, but, that's just another battle. But she started going out young. And one day we come home, and the entire back patio is full of cats. I mean, we have a huge lanai, and it's full of cats. And I said to Leland, that's extraordinary. I said, have you ever seen anything like this? He's like, no. And I said, wow, she's really friendly, isn't she? And we knew she chummed with the cat from behind us, in the next yard. But this was amazing. The next morning we get up, and Lily starts walking around and going, and now anybody that's had a cat knows what that means. Does anybody know what that means? She's in heat. Shoot. So now we understand the attention she was getting. And now we keep her inside, but it was too late. Lil's got pregnant. She was only 9 months old. And they had told us, wait until she's in heat for the first time to get her fixed. That's why she wasn't fixed, because they said, wait for that first heat. We knew that the ram would come and we'd know and we'd keep her in and everything would be fine. It wasn't fine. And so I really hoped that maybe she'd have just one kitten or 2 kittens, and then we could keep all the kittens and it would be great. Or, maybe she wouldn't get pregnant at all. No, she got pregnant. She did. So this is when she started being my teacher. Because I brought her to the vet. We found out that she was pregnant, but there was nothing on the outside to indicate that she was pregnant at all. Nothing. She wasn't heavy. Her body wasn't changing yet. Nothing indicated that there was new life on the inside of her. There's a lesson in here for us. Do you hear it? The seed was planted. There was nothing on the surface to indicate that the seed had taken root, but it had. So we started to make preparations for what we knew was the inevitable on the outside world. So I put together a box, and I put these old towels in it, and I wanted Lily to know that there was a safe place for her to go when these kittens would eventually come. So I make this box, and I fill it with towels, and I put it in my office. And I would just drop her in there so she knew where it was and what it was. And I just keep dropping her in there and dropping her in there so that she knew that there was somewhere safe for her to be when it was time. I was preparing the way for her. So this is the way life works. We plant these seeds, they become implanted. We can't see a single thing on the outside world, and somebody's preparing the way for us. Spirit is preparing the way for us. Spirit is making things ready for this to come in. It's amazing. So the quiet work of becoming, where am I being called to emerge? And how is life already readying the way? Look at your own life. What seeds have you already planted that maybe you can't see anything yet, but you've been tending them, and you know somewhere in you that something's going to happen. And maybe you start to see some visible signs in the outer world that Spirit is paving the way. Awareness. She gave me awareness. After a little while, I did start to see changes in Lils. You could see that she became heavier, and that she was starting to secrete some milk and stuff. And as time went on, she became heavier and heavier with these kittens. The kittens started to move in her. I could put my hand on her belly and feel them move around. And at first, she was fine. She still ran, played, and did all things Lily. But after a while, that became harder and harder and harder. Why? Because this life inside of her had taken on new life and was growing and expanding and growing and expanding and starting to make itself known on the surface. starting to make itself known. And inside of Lil's belly, it was getting crowded. You could see when it started to get really crowded in there. It became pretty difficult for Lily to get around. She would get up and, go and do her business, eat, sleep, but she was sleeping a lot more than anything. And I think that this is what happens with these ideas and these concepts that we plant into the fertile ground. Eventually, things get crowded. You guys have heard about the chicken in the egg, right? The chick in the egg, that gradually that egg fills with so much poop, the chick has to peck its way out. That's what happens. That's why they peck their way out, because they have to get out of there. So everything kind of works like this. If we look at the world of form, there is a micro all over, all around us, of the macro of what's going on of our life. If we can be open to what we're seeing in front of us, we've been given visual cues everywhere of how life really works. And this is one of them. New growth pushes itself out. It gets crowded. It starts to have to move. It starts to have to be released. The chicken in the egg, the plant in the acorn, it has to break the acorn open. It has to come out. It has to. It outgrows its current circumstance. And so do we. We outgrow our current circumstance. We become too big for the environment that we're in. This is what's happening with the kittens. They're becoming too big for the environment that they're in. And it's getting crowded and it's getting uncomfortable. So where is life nudging you to grow beyond where you've been? It's there. It's there. Where is life nudging you? So Lil's was on our bed one night. We knew it was getting close. And she's on our bed, and I was watching her closely, and we knew it was any day, just based on she's starting to pant, starting to go into labor. And we pretty much knew it was going to be that day, because she's panting, going into labor. And she wouldn't go in the box, and she wouldn't stay in the box, but she would be on our bed. At about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up, and she wasn't on the bed. And I went, oh dear. So I go to find her, and she's in the box next to my desk in my office, and there were 5 new kittens. 5 new kittens. And so I did one of these. Watch my mic, guys, because I'm going to blow it. Ah! And I said, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Poor Leland's in a dead sleep, right? He's in a dead sleep. He gets up, he runs into my office, are you okay? Oh my gosh, look at them! And he's like, what is going on? They're here, I was so excited, and I'm an enthusiastic, excited girl. And he's like, oh my God, jeepers, Shell, you just gave me a heart attack. Sorry. And so it was, the kittens had arrived. And she did it herself. She did it herself. She didn't wake me up. She was quiet the whole time. She had them all cleaned up. And I just kept looking at her going, what a strong girl you are. I had no idea this poor little abandoned kitty went through that all by herself. What a strong girl she was. And it made me wonder what strengths I have that haven't come out yet. Maybe the situation hasn't called for it, but I think that we're stronger than we even know on the inside. But maybe it hasn't been called forward. And so often, we live in those boxes, right? Because there's a fear that we can't handle what life's going to give us next. And I think we're stronger than we think. I think we can do more than we think. And I think when we look at these guys and see what they've gone through. Look at Timmy, look at her, 9 months old, probably 10 months old now. That's amazing. And we're no different. We are no different. We have amazing strengths within us, just waiting to be woken up. So Lils was in the box. She would not come out of that box once the kittens were born, all day. So she probably delivered them 2 or 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and this is about 11 o'clock at night, and I could not coax her out of that box at all. And I knew she hadn't had anything to eat, because she wouldn't, if I put it in the box, she wouldn't eat it, or drink, or anything. So finally I go and get a can of Fancy Feast. And I pulled it under her nose, and that finally coaxed her out of the box. And she would come out and have some Fancy Feast. So she and I sat next to the box, and we're looking at the kittens. I gave her food right there so that she'd be right there by the kittens. And the kittens, once she left the box, just started mewing their little heads off. They were looking for her. Where was she? Where was she? And there was this illusion that they were alone. But Lily and I were right outside the box. We were right there. We were watching them. They were perfectly safe. Everything was fine. But there was this illusion of separation. I know that we suffer from that illusion of separation as well. We suffer from that in our lives, that we are separate from each other, that we are separate from spirit, that we're alone in this. We are not alone in this. There's somebody sitting right outside our box, watching over us at all times. At all times. It is in us, it is as us, it is around us. We are in it, we are as it. We are not alone. We are never alone. And I felt for those little kitties that just felt like it, and for myself as well, but it made me aware. Maybe that's the way I respond. So how often do I search for what's already holding me? How often do I search for that? It's right where I am. In the same way that Lily and I were right where those kittens were. They just couldn't see us. They just couldn't see us. Well, they eventually found each other, and they put themselves in a huge heap of little kittenness. I think, there we go. And I think that this is probably about the way they were in Lily's belly, the little kittenness, and there's Lils with them. And that's the way you would find them moving forward. They would just, all 5 of them would be together and generally in a big heap. So that reminded me of something as well, that I'm not alone in this world in a spiritual manner, yeah, in a big manner, looking over the box manner, yeah. But I'm also not alone in my box. Right where I am are friends. Right where I am are people that love me. Right where I am is the support I'm looking for. And all I need do is ask. But so often we're determined to go through this journey alone. We're not separate. We're not alone. All we need do is ask. Right where we are people that care. I can say that to every single one of you because you're here. We care. We care. So we're not alone. Separateness is an illusion, in a spiritual way and in a tangible way as well. We are not alone. Can you see what happened? This is about 6 days into our journey. By the way, these guys are in my office, so my desk is like here, the box is here, my computer's on my desk, and I'm like this, for about 7 hours out of 8. I was really trying to focus. I really, really, really tried to focus, and I really tried to work. It just was impossible with these guys, and it got more impossible. But I mean, there was a miracle unfolding right there. Miracle after miracle after miracle, awareness after awareness after awareness. It was wonderful, and I'm so glad that I wasted those 8 weeks. Those 8 weeks. I am. Do you see what's happening here? Yeah, that's George. He's opening his eyes. Do you know what? George didn't even know he had eyes. He didn't. And you can imagine when he first opened his eyes, it would be like, oh, yeah, geez. It had to hurt. It did. Not only do you not know you have eyes, but you've never seen anything before, and the first thing you see is this bright light. Painful. Isn't that the way we are sometimes when we discover capacities that we didn't know? Painful, I didn't know. Yeah. Not only did they not know that they didn't have eyes, they didn't know what seeing would do for them. Holy cow, whole new world. I mean, up until now, they would creep around the box on, way low, and they'd find each other, with their nose, nudging. They just hunched down, very, very timidly and find each other that way. Now they can actually see where the other is. We have capacities like this too. We have capacities within us, things that we brought to this planet, gifts that we're supposed to deliver on this planet that we don't even know are here, that are ours, that are inside of us. They haven't been unlocked yet. We haven't matured. You think about the opening of the eyes. The kittens had to mature to a point where their eyes could open. Their body had to be at a certain point, their mentality had to be at a certain point so that their eyes could open. That's true for us too. There are latent gifts within each and every one of us that are waiting for us to mature to a point that that gift can be delivered. And all at once, you've got this gift or talent that's always been in there that you had no idea existed, and it stinks changes your life in every way feasible, in the same way this gift of sight changed theirs. This is actually my favorite thing that they taught me. It made me curious. What hidden capacities do I carry that I don't even know are there? And what will it take for them to emerge? How can I welcome them? How can I be open to them? How can I shift with them? How can I grow my box? Because literally that's what it's about, growing my box. So, once they could see each other, the adventure began. Let me tell you what, that little box became pure chaos. The 5 of them were like springing off the walls and batting at each other, and they were so, as you can see, stinking adorable. They still weren't moving very fast for a while, but that changed really quickly. They started to learn how to stand, and then they started to learn how to walk, because now they had purpose. They had some place to walk to. They had a sibling to find. They had somebody to smack, because they were doing a lot of that. And they had somebody to play with, and they started to play. They weren't playing before. They were kind of existing. But with this new gift of sight, they started to play, and their lives just changed hugely in that moment. Boing, 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 smack, smack, smack. And my life changed too, because then it was like half hour day of work because they were so stinking cute. They were absolutely adorable. So once we allow this hidden capacity out, the adventure really begins. The adventure really begins. So isn't it something to become curious about? What adventure might begin as I allow life to use me as a vehicle? What adventure might begin? This cat ended up being named Sky. I refused to name them while I had them because I knew that they weren't mine. The only one we named when we had them was George, because we knew we were keeping George. This one ended up being named Sky. Now, it was inevitable that this was going to happen. As the kittens started to mature a little bit, they started watching Lily jumping in and out of the box. And so they were made aware that Lily was going somewhere outside of this thing that they were in. And they realized that they were in a thing. And so one day, I always called this one the cream-colored kitty. One day, the cream-colored kitty started jumping. Jump, 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 jump. And because she wanted to see what was on the other side of this edge, you know? Jump, jump, jump. And then she reached, and she could get her claws up there, and she got her claws up at the top, and she reached, and she was like, ooh, and I was there with my camera, of course. And that's it. That's the moment that's captured right there. She found the edge of her box. She found the edge of the box. This is something to celebrate. I betcha you guys can name some of the times that you found the edges of your boxes. I can. I can. This was, again, life-changing for these little guys. So, of course, did I put any others? I got to see. Yes, I did. The others jumped, and it was just a matter of time that I said, okay. So we expanded their world. I had this drawbridge on the front of the box so that I could get in there with my camera when they were little. I have 495, I think, pictures of the kittens in the 8 weeks that I had them. Something like that. When I gave them away, I gave a CD of all their baby pictures, a piece of the blanket that they laid on, and one of the kitty toys that was in my office, and a bag of cat food. So yeah, I was like the very overprotective mama. What can I say? They had two, Lily and me. And so this is when I opened up the box. Now at first they cowered in the back of the box because opening up our boxes, we might recognize where the edge of that box is. We might find the edge of the box, but to open up that box and to come out of that box is stinking scary. There's a reason we're in the box. It's comfortable there. We know where the edges are. It's very, very comfortable in there. And if we're going to expand our world, that's scary. Now, that expansion could look like new job. That expansion could look like move. That expansion could look like new school. That expansion could look, fill in the blank. Retirement. Medical procedure. All of these could be means of expansion, pushing us into our greater yet to be, and opening our box. And they're scary. So at first, the kittens stayed at the back of the box. Even with the drawbridge open, and even with them wanting to get out, and even with Lily kind of coaxing them out. But eventually, they came out. And then I got zero work done. Zero work done. I had 5 little kittens running around my office. We had a gate in the office so Lily could get in and out, but the dogs couldn't get in because we still had 2 big dogs back then too. And they just started having a riot in my office. They would find places, I'd find them everywhere. One day I came home, I had a recliner, and they were inside, all 5 of them, inside the back of the recliner. You know, and where one went, the other 4 went. And so one day I couldn't find them at all, and finally I found them on the bottom shelf of my bookcase. All 5 of them are there. They were just having a riot and exploring this new expanded world now called my office, from the little box of where their nest was to the expanded version of life now called my office. And they were having a hoot. They were having a hoot. I have videos. You know, I didn't realize at the time, I was posting almost every day on Facebook pictures of the kittens because I loved them. You know, it wasn't for anybody else. It was 100% for me because I just thought they were stinking adorable. And I didn't know that people were watching until like months later. Oh, those kittens were so cute. Oh, I'm so sorry they're not in your house anymore. I just loved it every day. It made my day. It changed, you know. It was amazing the impact that these 5 little guys had on lives that I knew nothing about. I'd have videos because they would just go flying around my office and literally bouncing off the furniture in my office. They were just great, having a ball. Well, one day, I come home from yoga, and my dog Sula, who is there, did not greet me when I came in. This is very unusual. Sula always greeted me when I came in from yoga. And so I'm looking for Sula, and I get to my office. Now you can see the situation. We've got that's my office door. We've got the gate in there. Before the kittens were allowed to run around in my office, there was a door cut in the bottom of it so Lily could get in and out. We had to block that once the kittens were running around so that the kittens wouldn't get out. But those little stinkers, and that stool is there because Lily would jump from the floor to the stool and the stool into my office. You see how that works? Well, those little stinkers, while I was at yoga class, climbed the gate up to the stool. And they found themselves, as you can see, very, very fearfully face to face with Sula, our 80-pound black-mouthed cur. Now, here's what they didn't know about Sula. Sula is a mama. Sula always wanted to have puppies and never had them. She was fixed at a very young age. Sula used to carry around this dinosaur toy thinking it was her puppy. She really did. I mean, that's a whole nother story. But she loved babies. Yeah, she did. She did. And then she loved babies. She had raised Lily from a baby and loved her, just protected her, made sure she was safe. That was Sula's role. So you can see that they look pretty afraid of Sula, rightfully so. She's an 80-pound black-mouthed cur. But things are not always what they seem. Things are not always what they seem. And sometimes the things that we are most frightened of are actually here to help us get from A to B safely. Sula was. Sula was definitely there to help them get from A to B safely. They just didn't know it. Things are not always what they seem. We become so afraid of the definitions that we've created around things in our life that we will step back in fear instead of forward in faith to find out what's really going on. Now, once they were down by Sula, they were fine. Of course they were. But they didn't know that. And sometimes we don't either. And we will back up and stay away because of the stories that we've invented about a thing. Things are not always what they seem to be. So, what might life reveal if I peek over the edges of what I know? Eventually, the 8 weeks did come up. I remember yoga that morning. I was laying there in meditation. I was just bawling my eyes out. They were very empathetic, my yoga partners. This was like a day or two before. All 5 of them are laying on her. And they're right in my window. I love this picture. My other favorite picture. Also, the day that they were to leave. So you know that blanket I said I cut up and sent with them? It was that blanket, because they were always laying on that blanket. And interestingly, you see how they're all looking in a different direction? I thought that was so interesting that they seemed to know that this was it. And what I learned, you know, I've had puppies and I've had kittens, and they just whine, and they're horrible the first several days, weeks that you have them, you know, the whining and crying and stuff at night. And I thought they were whining and crying for their mom. They were whining and crying for each other. Lily had long since become very independent, but this is the way you'd find them. They were always by each other. They were always touching each other, and it broke my heart to separate them. If I could have had 5 little cats, I would have. Oh, no. But no, that was not possible. That was not possible. But so a new chapter begins. A new chapter begins. But the thing is that I knew that those kittens were going from the arms of love to the arms of love. The people that adopted these kittens had been watching them on Facebook for the 8 weeks and had gotten a hold of me week 1 or 2 and asked me if they could adopt one. And they came prior to adopting them to meet them to make sure that everything was okay. We had a return policy on the kittens, which one person did take advantage of, and it was, please do not ever take this kitten to a shelter. If you can't, for some reason, maintain your relationship with the cat, bring it back to us. We do not want this cat in a shelter. And so one person did run into a situation, so we ended up with one back. So we kept George, and then we ended up with Precious back in Lils. So we had 3.
We didn't name her either.
Yeah, you can tell. Lily, George, Tim, Ellie, Precious. Who names their cat Precious? And she was just a precious thing. But here we are. We're changing whole scenario. We're moving out of this place of comfort. We're moving out of this box. But we got to remember, we're always moving from the arms of love to the arms of love. Because we are love, and we are loved, and we are surrounded by love, and we are immersed in love. And love is the nature of the universe that we're in. And sometimes it's easy to forget us, especially when we're leaving loved ones. I've had a lot of loved ones leave me recently. Y'all know this. Mother, father, brother. In very, very short order. And I am still immersed in love. And I think they can love me in a bigger, grander way from where they are. I really do. That's Sula meeting George for the first time. And so we left that open until George felt comfortable to come out and actually be with Sula. Sula couldn't get to him. George could do it in his own time. That's really the way the universe works all over. Here's the safety again. Safety net, safety net, safety net. We are safe right where we are. So, yeah, I know. George's world expanded. So that's why I say there's more to life than this box. Because they started out in this little box of safety. Safety for Lils, safety for the kittens, safety for everybody at the edge of my desk. And then we opened up the drawbridge, and it was the safety of my office with the gate in the door. And then we opened that little hole in the gate so that if George wanted to run back in there at any time, he would still be safe from the dogs. He could choose. An expansion of the box. And then he expanded into the safety of the box of our house. Eventually, when he was a 20-pound cat, he got to be huge. The safety of our yard. the safety of our neighborhood. And so it goes with us. Our box, there's more to life than this box that we're in right now. And we are in a box. We are in a box. What's ours to know is that we're in a box. And maybe be curious about where that edge is. And maybe be curious what gifts are seeking to emerge so that we can get out of that box and figure out what the next box looks like. And the next, and the next, and the next. There's more to life than this box. Not in everybody's mind? What would Ernest Holmes say? What a great question. Now, the Marianne Williamson reading and what I'm about to read you from Ernest Holmes come from this idea that you look at this reading from Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us the most. And we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Who are you not to be? Why are you staying in your box? Come out. You are a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. From Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes on page 406. Pure spirit exists at the center of all form. That's why we can learn from everything around us, because it's all the same. It's all spirit in form, so it all works the same. We can look at the tree and learn this same story. We can look at the kittens and learn this same thing. We can look at the people around us and learn the same thing. We are all micros of the macro, all of us, because pure spirit exists at the center of all form. Of itself, it is formless, but it is ever giving birth to form. The forms come and go, but it goes on, it, capital I, but it goes on forever. We are some part of it. If pure spirit is at the center of everything and always responding to our thought, there is no limit to its manifestation for us except the limitations we set. Let me repeat that. There is no limitation to its manifestation for us except the limitations we set. There's more to life than this box. Let's take that into prayer. So settling into the right here, right now, and knowing together there is one power, one presence, one light. One life. And it exists in a myriad of forms. It existed in those forms of those kittens and the cat. It exists in the forms of the trees and the plants and the animals. It is everywhere present, in, through, and as everything, and we are immersed in it. So much so that we don't even recognize that it is right where we are. And it is right where we are. So I celebrate this knowing today. I celebrate knowing today that I am in a box. And there is a curiosity generated here and now for what latent gifts lie within us that are waiting to be birthed. Understanding that birth can be messy and moving through that so that that box expands and expands, as does our love, as does our peace, as does our joy, as does our abundance, because that's how life works. So I am just so happy and grateful for the deepening of this understanding. I am so happy and grateful to be blessed, moving through all of the changes that are called life. I am just grateful. I'm grateful for the four-leggeds that come here and love us unconditionally, teach us every day about unconditional love. I'm just grateful. So it is in this gratitude that I turn everything that's happened here today over to Spirit, knowing good and more good and more good is the result. And I invite you to claim and anchor this with me by saying, and so it is. And so it is.